see now, I should be able to lower this down, find the switch. Oh wow. Yeah. I like that. This is a 1960s style incandescent bulb recess light. My home is from the 1960s. I never did like these things. They're clunky. The edges of the metal can sometimes be sharp. I'm always swapping out light bulbs every year. And I find, I'm burning myself when I have to swap out the light bulb. I just don't have patience for them to cool down. The other problem with these recessed lights is that they leak. So you can see here this recessed light has lots of metal foil tape in it, covering every little hole in the recessed light. That's because the warm air from the house leaks up through, and then sometimes the cold air comes leaking back down through. And it's really very inefficient for my house. What I want to do is I want to seal these up a little bit better and replace the incandescent bulb with something that's LED, something that's a little bit more efficient. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to try to achieve, and we're going to see how well I do. What I want to do is I want to make that square fixture look a little bit more like that round fixture. One of the dangers of these things is when these were first installed, they had a glass plate. And that glass plate was very dangerous to work with, so I replaced it with this thin plastic sheet. But these are very brittle, and they crack, and they go bad, and they pick up a lot of bugs and dust from the attic. So what I want to do is seal this thing off properly, do my best to keep the dust from falling through, and make sure I never have to take it apart again, to keep my maintenance down, and I'll never have to buy any more light bulbs. I could replace the clear panel with a number of materials because I'm doing an LED type fixture. Depending on how hot it gets, I could use something like this if it never gets hot, or I could use some plywood if it gets hotter. I could also use some Tuffic polycarbonate, and that would help. It's very strong, and it would give the new fixture some support if it's a little heavier than, say, a few ounces. What I want to do is install these Utiltech retrofit light bulb replacements. They should be pretty bright, and it should look nice. Let's go test one out. This is the part where I always wind up burning myself. So I've learned to use a wet rag, cold wet rag, when unscrewing hot light bulbs. Then put that hot light bulb somewhere metal so it won't cause a fire, such as on the washer. In the box, you get the unit with some clips, the light bulb end, and a set of instructions, which I will choose to ignore. I really did appreciate the use of an orange plug so I can separate the wire from the unit during the installation process and then plug it in. I was able to screw the wire into the socket hot, meaning I did not turn off the power. A lot of people, when they switch out light bulbs, they don't always have the ability to turn off the power because they can't see what they're doing, or they don't always have a flashlight handy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug in the fixture into that orange plug and see what it looks like. Looks like that's going to provide plenty of light for this area, and I'm going to give it some time and see how warm the unit gets. The units themselves are pretty light, and an ordinary piece of plastic should be able to support that no problem. I could also use thin plywood and paint it, or some other light material. I would not go as light as the tri-foam board, but if I wanted to prototype it, I could do that pretty easily. The units do have a selectable color temperature, which I think is a really cool feature, but I'm really interested in the hole size that I need. When you supply people with instructions, it's always a good idea to show the hole size when you're showing them out. That way you're not digging through all kinds of instructions to try and find out how big of a hole you should cut. When they talk about selectable color temperature, this is what they mean. The instructions don't seem to say how hot the unit will burn, but it does give you an operating temperature. I haven't been able to determine what size hole I want to mount this unit, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the box itself as a test piece. I'm going to cut a hole, put the unit through the hole in the box, and see how it looks. And if I like the size of the hole, that's what I'm going to use. I have a sheet of Tuffic back here that I might use. This is the panel that came out of the fixture, and this is my test piece of cardboard for my test hole. I don't carry a bunch of hole templates laying around, but I do have rolls of tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this roll of tape and mark a hole and cut it out with a pair of scissors and see how it looks. Save yourself a lot of time making holes by using a piece of cardboard first and using a pair of scissors. Then later on you can dig through your drill bits or your knob cutting bits and see if you can find a hole cutter that is that size. So, that looks really terrible, doesn't it? Let me see if I can get my razor knife out and fix that. Now lately I'd go out and I'd buy these razor knives and I find that the ends are made of plastic. And the razor knife lasts about a day. Because the amount of force that I put on them. So is that sitting flat? No, it's not. That hole is nowhere near big enough. So, okay, don't have a bigger template? Stick your tape into the hole. Get your pen. I'm going to use a Sharpie this time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark a rough measurement by holding the pen really steady and spinning the material. Ta-da! Check your work. Did you actually cut a round hole, or was your roll of tape oval shaped? And it looks like the roll of tape was pretty round, and the hole I cut was pretty round. What I could do, just to make a quick panel, I'm going to use the old reflector. Not a shot in hell. Tried to drill that one hole and it shattered all the way across. This is the original 1960s glass panel. It's going to be pretty hard to make a hole in that glass panel. But I can make a hole very easily in a piece of drywall or even sheetrock. Cut the hole, file it out, use a RASP, something like this, right? I can shape the hole perfectly in about 5 minutes and have it done. So instead of trying to use that crumbly piece of plastic, let's try using something that can be shaped much more easily, such as drywall. Here's an old piece of drywall. Very easy to drill a hole through. I can score it, snap it this way, snap it that way, drill a couple holes through it, and then I can get a hole saw and zotz through this in about 3 minutes. And I won't have to worry about it breaking or snapping or any of that other stuff. Now, the question becomes, do I want to cut the hole first or do I want to snap it first? And I thought about it and I went, you know, okay, you could go either way and you could have the same problems. So I'm going to snap it first, get the piece out, and then I'm going to cut the hole in it and go from there. I'm going to see if I can get 2 panels out of this spare piece of drywall. If there's any dents or dings in it, I'll fill it in with some filler, and then I'll just paint them with ordinary house paint, and they will be the new panels for the new fixtures, so I can put the new lights in. I've been running that for about 30 minutes and it's not even getting warm, so I feel really good about that for fire safety. That's going to be really terrific. I'm a little worried about these clips getting in the way, but okay, so I can probably trim off those clips if they get to be a problem, so I can just snip them off. But yeah, that's where I want that. You know, that's the panel right there. That's terrific. This is what you're after. Let's try and put the panels in the light fixtures now. We're back to the work table again. One of the things I could never do is make complete changes to parts of my ceiling without removing that section of the ceiling, such as the fixtures or the area where that vent tube is going to go through because it's usually rotted out or something like that. You can see how cruddy these things are. One of the things that gets in the way with these new panels is these metal clips for the glass. that would hold the glass into place. Thank you for having the loudest exhaust pipes in Texas. And they're not always easy to remove, so I want to get some pliers. I'm going to remove these and slide in the new panels and test fit them, and we're going to move forward. When working with sheet metal panels, wear rubber gloves if you can. You'll prick yourself a lot less. You'll cause a lot fewer problems for yourself when you're working with this stuff. These clips are a little troublesome. Nothing's ever going to go smooth, so yeah, I just poked myself right there. You're going to get pokes, you're going to get prods. Things are going to happen. When you spray them with water, give it a couple seconds to soak in, and that'll release the blue tape. Make sure you double cut the corners. So you're going to go back with your razor knife and make sure that you've cut to depth. And then pull the tape up where you cut it. And then let it dry. I double cut the corners so that they wouldn't be stuck. That one didn't cut so good, but you get the idea. That'll clean up this edge real nice. Now that little bit of red ink is going to show through if I don't prime that with primer. So just be careful and buy some good grade paint, prime the surfaces, and then paint them, and they'll come out great. Start at the corners and lift very carefully and pull away. Isn't that nice? Sometimes along the way you have to give this a little thought. I have clips, and if this unit goes bad I want to be able to replace it. I don't want to have to remake everything. So I just cut 3 more rectangles out of the drywall and I just laid them into place and put the clips on them. I'm going to be taping those down. So now the fixture is held into place by its clips, and that's not going to move. And I can paint that the way it is, and it'll look terrific. What I'm doing is I'm using the tape to anchor the panel into place. That way it doesn't move around by accident when I'm messing with the panels as I'm trying to install them back into the fixtures in the ceiling. You certainly don't want your work to fall apart while you're installing it. So the more tape, the better. So you can see here now I'm taping the blocks into place so that they won't shift should I have to remove this unit from the panel. That is a yellow one with the yellowish setting, and that's a white one with the whitish color setting. I think I like white better, even though it is brighter. It's a little hard to look at, but bright enough for my hallway. Let's see now, I should be able to lower this down, find the switch. Oh wow. Yeah. I like that. I want to thank everybody for watching the World's Dirtiest Workshop today. Don't forget, when you're done, clean up.